Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram Om.
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 Shri Ram, Jai Ram,
Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram Om Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram. Hari Om to everybody. Pranam, pranam. Pranam, pranam, pranam. Pranam. Yesterday,
Swamiji, sorry if your video is not on.
Video is not on.
Eh?
Video is not on.
It's not on, Swamiji.
Audio is on, video is on.
Audio is there, video is not there.
Okay.
So the camera, Swamiji.
Now?
Yes, Swamiji, Lord is there. Yes, yes, Swamiji.
Ayo.
Thank you.
Okay. Yesterday, suddenly, Papa brought In Quest of God in-depth study also into the picture. We had absolutely no clue at all. But today, at the time of coming for this satsang, again the question was asked whether we are going to take up In Quest of God or Bhagavad Gita. But now, probably for enabling us to go deeper into this and link it with our day-to-day life, he is prompting us to link Bhagavad Gita and In Quest of God wherever it is possible. It might be possible everywhere, but at the moment we can only say wherever it is possible. We all know that Bhagavad Gita started with Vishada Yoga. Lot of confusions in the minds of Arjuna because of his attachment. So the first message comes is that everything stems from the me and mine only. Papa in the first chapter, he says, it is a period of terrible stress and restlessness, all of his own making. All of his own making means what? The me and mine level. That means so far he has been dealing with everything from that me and mine level, not the higher level. Arjuna was also finding it difficult to go ahead with the war because he was viewing it from his me and mine level, my relations, my. Dhritarashtra says, my son and my sons and the Pandava sons. He said that after seeing them, his attachment gets puffed up, and then he finally takes a stand that he is unable to hold on to the Gandiva. He was passing through a severest stressful period, again, all of his own making. Please think about it. In Quest of God, he says, what does he say? Is it becoming clear?
Yes. Next.
For nearly a year, Ramdas struggled on in a world full of cares, anxieties, and pains. It was a period of terrible stress and restlessness, all of his own making. That means what? The stress, tension, anxiety, uncertainty, everything stems from the individual, all of his own making. In first chapter we find Arjuna is also confronted with a situation where he is unable to raise himself to a higher level. God prompted me to do this. God is doing it for God's purpose. If that attitude comes, I will not have any grumblings or complaints. So you and I, when we deal with men and matters, a subtle warning is given to us. Unless you raise yourself to a higher level, you will be caught in the meshes of moha, delusions. And then, with that Papa did not stop. Papa made a fervent prayer. Arjuna, and the prayer was heard. Arjuna also says, कार्पण्य दोषो महद स्वभाव पृच्छामि त्वां धर्मसं मूढ़चेताः यच्चेयस्यान् निश्चितं ब्रूहि तन्मे शिष्यस्ते अहं शादिमां त्वां प्रपन्नम्. There Papa made a fervent prayer. Where is rest, where is peace? Here he says, English version, no? One set of book you have to keep it here so that every time I have to go to chapter number 2, okay. 7. My inborn nature has been overwhelmed by the bane of faint-heartedness, and I am confused as regards my dharma or duty. So I am asking you, tell me definitely what will prove beneficial to me. I am your disciple, teach me, who has surrendered to you. Where is relief, where is rest? This was the heart's cry of Ramdas. The cry was heard. And from the great void came the voice, despair not, trust me, thou shalt be free. So then in the 11th chapter he says, Ashochyan annashojastum prajnavadamscha bhashase Gadasūn agadanṣūscha nanushocanti panditaha. Based upon the philosophy which Arjuna had invoked in his mind, Bhishma, Drona were not to be mourned for. They are great people. What is the virtue in showing pity for them? They are not to be grieved over. They are great people themselves. You are feeling so much of grief, and yet you are speaking wise words, like a Pandita. Panditas will not grieve for the dead or the living. So Pandita is a great word in Sanskrit. though today it means very ordinary in North India. Then, so suppose we try to connect up the first chapter and the second chapter. As initial, the first chapter of In Quest of God, struggle and initiation. It may not be exactly like what Bhagavad Gita says, but we will be able to understand Gita and In Quest of God in such a way that it will enable us to tackle the situations or problems that God subjects us to go through. There will be some clues, some hints. So in the first chapter, we were able to unearth about 7 or 8 points. Utter helplessness leads to intense prayer from the bottom of the heart. Because of the moha, utter helplessness, that led to him and say that I am your Shishya, kindly, clear. Prayers are answered intuitively from the core of the being, great void. So in the second chapter he keeps on listing. Because everything is happening only by his will. So there is nothing for you to grieve over. Elaborately he discusses. We have to do some research and find out if there is anything similar to the word great void. Not exactly, it does not come. So in the second chapter he also touches about the various changes that are taking place in our life, and then how we pass through the whole thing, and even after this life also, that means during this life also so many changes. And after a certain period even the body is changed. But there is a changeless factor in us. Though various changes are taking place, there is a changeless factor in us. He directs our attention to that particular one. So everybody has to do some research.
16, 17, second chapter.
For example, 15.
16. 1-6.
नासतो विद्यते भावो. नासतो विद्यते भावो नाभावो विद्यते सतः उभयोरपि दृष्टोऽन्तस्तनयो तत्त्वदर्शिभिः.
Somebody's mic is on.
Somebody's mic is on and
I'm sorry, it's not here.
Huh?
Now, somebody's mic was on, so it was not clear. Now clear, it's stopped.
1 second, we are muting. They have muted, okay. Muted.
So in sloga number 16 of chapter number 2, he says, Nasato vidyate bhavo nabhavo vidyate sataha upayorapi drishtondha tvanayo tattvadarshibhihi. Asat and Sat, these words are used. They have got different meanings in different contexts. In a purely philosophical context, they mean the unreal and the real. But in Sankhya terminology, it has got another meaning. One is called the cause and the other is called the effect. The Sat is the effect, Asat is the cause. Because Sat you can see, cause and effect are non-different. According to the Sankhyan, as the case, so the effect. So as much energy you put into your machine, that much of work the machine can do, nothing more. That is called cause and effect being non-different. But in this context, the word Sat means the real. The word Asat means the unreal. So the sloka says, Nasato vidyate bhavo. The unreal never is. Similarly, Nabhavo vidyate sataha. The word non-existent cannot be applied to what is real. The Sat is the real, it can never be the non-existent. Everything in this world is changeable. Every second it is changing. This is one great conclusion. You do not step into the same river twice. The world is like that, constantly changing. This becomes more and more confirmed when you study modern physics dealing with the matter, the modern biology dealing with the living systems. For example, your body changes within a few years. Everything in the body has changed. Yet you say, I am. I feel I am the same person. Some sort of unity, somewhere is there in this world of change. Man alone can discover it. Animals cannot. Man can discover it, animals, but they do not find that unity behind the change. But man feels there is a unity where all this change is really centered, just like all the changes of pictures in a film, making for the unity of the film, that is due to the curtain behind the film, that makes for unity. Similarly, we search for the unity behind the multiplicity of the universe. The first truth is change, and we see that whatever changes is unreal. The 16th and 17th similarly echoes. We have therefore a fine definition of what is real. That which exists in the past, present and future, that is called the real. Always it is there. Is there such a real? Yes, says Vedanta. That search is the search of philosophy everywhere in the world. Nasato vidyate bhavo, nabhavo vidyate. If this external world is unreal, then what is real? The imperishable, infinite Atman of the nature of pure consciousness, one and non-dual, from whom the whole universe has come, in whom it rests, into whom it returns. That will be the theme of another verse immediately. So we use the word Sat for the infinite perishable reality. So the 16 and 17 says about the changes that are taking place. So when Papa cries, suddenly he heard intuitively, and then afterwards he found these encouraging words of Ram proved like a plank thrown towards a man struggling for very life in the stormy waves of the raging sea. The great assurance soothed the aching heart of helpless Ramdas like gentle rain on thirsting earth. Thenceforward, a part of the time that was formerly totally devoted to worldly affairs was taken up for the meditation of Ram, who for that period gave him real peace and relief. Gradually, love for Ram, the giver of peace, increased. The more Ramdas meditated on and uttered his name, the greater the relief and joy he felt. Nights which are free from worldly duties were in course of time utilized for Ram Bhajan with scarcely 1 or 2 hours rest. his devotion for Ram progressed by leaps and bounds. During the day when chaos and anxieties were besetting him due to monetary and other troubles, Ram was coming to his aid in unexpected ways. So whenever free from worldly duties, be the period ever so small, he would meditate on Ram and utter his name. Walking in the streets, he would be uttering Ram, Ram. Ramdas was now losing attraction for the objects of the world. Sleep, except for 1 or 2 hours in the night, was given up for the sake of Ram. Fineries in clothes and dress were replaced by horse qadar. Bed was substituted by a bare mat. Food first, 2 meals were reduced to 1 meal a day. And after some time, this too was given up for plantains and boiled potatoes. Chilies and salt were totally eschewed. No taste but for Ram. Meditation of Ram continued apace. It encroached upon the hours of the day and the so-called duties. At this stage one day, Ramdas's father came to him, sent by Ram, calling him aside, gave him the Upadesh of Ram Mantram, Shri Ram, Jai Ram, Jai Jai Ram, assuring him that if he repeated this mantram at all times, Ram would give him eternal happiness. This initiation from the father hastened on the aspirant in his personal spiritual progress. Off and on, he was prompted by Ram to read the teachings of Sri Krishna, the Bhagavad Gita, Buddha, the light of Asia, Jesus Christ, the New Testament, Mahatma Gandhi, Young India and ethical religion. The young plant of bhakti in Ram was thus nurtured in the electric atmosphere created by the influence of these great men on the mind of humble Ramdas. It was at this time that it slowly dawned upon his mind that Ram was the only reality, all else was false. While desires for the enjoyment of worldly things were fast falling off, consideration of me and mine was also wearing out. The sense of possession and relationship was vanishing. All thought, all mind, all heart, all soul was concentrated on Ram, Ram covering up, absorbing everything. When we read this first chapter, now that we have just gone through all the chapters of Bhagavad Gita, can we link 1 or 2 with this? Like, Yuktahara Viharasya. Moderation in food. You remember? And in the second chapter, he says whenever we are in the sense objects, when we feel that it is likely to attract, we must be able to withdraw ourselves like a tortoise. You remember? So can we connect up? Think. In the Sthita Prajna, the transient nature of the body, before Sthita Prajna, it comes. Whether it has some relation with this first chapter, I think probably the first article, vanishing forms, Ram, truth, the love, the goal of human perfection. To strive to approach, to understand Ram is to recede from the world of vanishing forms, because Ram is the only truth, the only reality. Ram is a subtle and mysterious power that pervades and sustains the whole universe. Birthless and deathless is He. He is present in all things and in all creatures who only appear as separate entities due to their ever-changing forms. To wake up from the illusion of forms is to realize at once the unity or love of Ram. Love of Ram means love of all beings, all creatures, all things in the world. Because Ram is in all and all is in Ram and Ram is all in all. To realize this great truth, we who through ignorance feel as separate individuals should submit ourselves to the will and working of that infinite power. Nimitta matram savasavya sajin. Somewhere, a lot of research is necessary with this attitude. We have not applied our mind on those lines, but now it looks as if it is possible. Inquest of God and in-depth study of Bhagavad Gita. And then we will replace Inquest of God to our life and Bhagavad Gita. In order to bring our life, daily life, to connect itself with Bhagavad Gita, probably this exercise might help us. But here the guidance should not be chapter to chapter. Theme of the different chapters have come in the different chapters of Inquest of God. Prima facie, without going deep, suppose when we just go through like this, we suddenly find, yes, moderation, withdrawal of senses, commitment to the goal to be scaled, one-pointedness, even-mindedness. So 6th chapter, 3rd chapter, everything, Second chapter, I think probably if we go deep, probably we may be able to connect so many things with Inquest of God. Consideration of me and mine. Perfection?
Perfection means Sthita Prajna. So those things only are explained.
Inquest of God?
But what is explained?
Where?
All those things.
There, this one, goal of human perfection. The goal of human perfection, whether we should try and connect it up. In that way it might help us. But always ensure it doesn't slip into intellectual exercise, comparing the two books and then bringing out. That is the risk involved here. It becomes intellectual, no doubt. It becomes interesting, no doubt. But what happened to our daily life? So this leads to one thing, that unless we try to have a grip of both these texts, it will be difficult to integrate. Half prepared, half boiled, no. When we prepare a dish, all ingredients are put at different times. Certain things are put directly. Certain things are added at the appropriate time. And salt and spicy thing that is added at another time. And finally it becomes a wonderful dish. Not that both are mixed immediately. So we have to do this research in such a way. Suddenly we said, from the first chapter when we read about his self-denial, about the food, immediately we remembered yuktahara viharasya. Like that, at that particular moment it might come, not in the same way. 18 chapters cannot be directly linked to the 37 chapters. There are many things from many chapters that can begin. That means an overall study, an in-depth study of Bhagavad Gita will enable us to tackle our problems. That is what is brought out in Inquest of God. In Inquest of God, day-to-day problems have been brought out in a beautiful way, not in a chronological way. And every time the values which we have at least mentally learned or intellectually learned from Bhagavad Gita, we find, for example, this evenness of mind. Everywhere Papa seems to be holding on to it. Everywhere. And in the periodical solitude, which he emphasizes in the 6th chapter, that he resorts to many a times. God does everything, so ours is to submit to His will. Ananya Chintayan Tomam, everywhere we find that. Sarvadharman Parityajya, outwardly, when on the 27th December 1922, he was the father of a daughter, husband of a wife, brothers of his brother. Technically, officially, technically speaking, or superficially speaking, he was abandoning them, Though he was not abandoning them, but abandoning all duties. Sarvadharman Parityajya Mam Ekam Sharanam Vraja. In the 2nd chapter he says, why should he not throw himself entirely on thy mercy, which can be only possible by giving up everything he called mine? So like that, we let us all try to jot down some points which, now that we have gone through Inquest of God in detail and Bhagavad Gita to some extent, whatever that comes, never bother about linking the chapter to chapter. We should know that Papa was trying to introduce the Gita values in every incident, in every situation. So one thing that comes to our mind just now is, suppose everyone makes a note, each chapter of Inquest of God, what does it touch and kindle in me? One word or two words, that's all. Not a big yes. From that particular chapter, 1 or 2 points, and then we try whether these points have been elaborated in the Bhagavad Gita. So there is a link between the practical life and the theory. We feel it might be possible. With this perspective, we should read. What is it that will help me for my day-to-day life? With that idea, we go through Inquest of God. It will be easy because we have done a lot of manana on that. So we would have forgotten at the moment, but the moment we take up one chapter, everything will come to us. So pick up 1 or 2 or 3 points from each chapter and then find out from Bhagavad Gita which chapter says what, whether it has got any connection. We might be able to link, One or two attempts like that, if we do that research, probably the theme gets stabilized in our mind, which will help us to deal with situation outside. Because in our 198, 98, in the 7 or 8 points, these are go to the source of everything. Intense faith leads to trust. Code of conduct, simple living habits to gain more mind space for God remembrance. Introspection to know whether the me and mine, the sense of possession is reducing. Manashanjala, he says, Vairagyena. It is true that the mind is always flickering, but only by practice and dispassion we can win over, he says. Like that we can connect up. Remember him even the period ever so small. Those of you who are having this stress to serenity, it will help you. Those who are not having it, they can inform us through email. We will send the soft copy. And this is a small book. Page by page when we go, we will get that point. And that point and the Bhagavad Gita, 18 chapters. We have some basic idea now about 18 chapters. Arjuna Vishada Yoga, Sankhya Yoga, Karma Yoga, Jnana Karma Sannyasa Yoga. Then, what is the next one? Everybody has forgotten. Then Karma Sannyas. Then 6th is Atma Samyog, that is control. Dhyana Yoga, somebody says. Then Jnana Vijnana Yoga, Akshara Brahma Yoga, Raja Vidya Raja Guhyam, Vibhudi, Vishwadarshanam, then Bhakti, then Kshetra Kshetrajna, 14th is Gunatraya Vibhagam, then 15th is the famous, what is that? Purushottamam. 16th is Devasura Vibhaga Yoga. The Shraddhatraya is 17th. So,
17 is
Shraddhatraya, not Dattatraya. The 14th was Gunatraya. This is Shraddhatraya. Then 18th is Moksha Sannyas. Now each is, now let us suppose we remember what is it that each 18th chapter, to me, what is that? One sloga we may remember, one idea we may remember. This is how we have to do. Everyone has to do, not that somebody will say from here and we will hear and go. If we are really after this study, we must do this exercise. There is no shortcut. And then when you ask, we will also try to share. Merely hearing will not help. So the one has to do, if we want. Yesterday suddenly, through a devotee, Papa reminds us about the inquest of God and the connection between Bhagavad Gita and this. So after that we have not applied our mind intensely, but now when we go through it casually, we find it might be possible for us. That will ultimately help us to assimilate the theme as a part of our life, which will help us to deal with men and matters outside. The purpose is for our own, refining ourselves. Purpose is to empower ourselves to handle things, not to get elated by something, not to get depressed by something, not to distrust anybody, not to develop prejudice against anybody, not to develop attachment to anybody, accepting every situation cheerfully, even though not cheerfully, accept as that is the part. Swabhavastu pravartade. That is the very nature. I try to accept it. And some more clarity about death. We don't apply our mind on this word death. That is why we are unable to reconcile with the death. We hardly think that we will also one day quit. So this Akshara Brahma Yoga definitely, when we apply our mind, it will help us. Moderation, everything comes from 6th chapter. What should be our attitude while acting, that comes from the 3rd, 4th and 5th. When somebody is behaving in a strange way, we will be able to immediately connect up because of the help of 7th chapter. 7th chapter says what is the raw material and what are the products. The para and the apara aspect. The eightfold Prakriti. That is the one which gives us these varieties. So when somebody behaves something which we cannot accept, we will be able to remember. It is because of his own karma he is behaving like this. What can he do unless he is prompted from within to correct himself? So we will not develop prejudices, like that. And in the 10th we find a methodology to find the evenness or God dimension in everything. First we will see in Mahatmas, First we will see in avatars. First we will see in noble people. Then slowly we find a person is composed of what? We have put a label, he is noble. But a person is there first, with a body, mind, intellect. So then there is and body, all bodies, physical bodies have almost 99% same organs. 99%. There is a change for female and male, agreed. But they are also for the male, same. Female, same. But basic things are there for both. So we start thinking, but individual differs. So from Mahatmas we come to everybody's level later. So Vibhuti and Vishwarupa Darshan will enable us to give that idea. And then when I feel I need values, otherwise then only I can refine myself, I will be able to connect myself properly with the rest of the creation. Whether it is with my family people or with my colleagues and bosses or my customers at the professional level or with my friends outside in the social circle. So the 12th chapter, 13th chapter, 16th chapter gives a lot of values. Slowly try, And because Papa was going through all these things and he was able to bring it out. The first value, the value of values, yes, that would be the right word. The value of values is identifying the common thing in everybody. What has been explained in 12, 13, 16, Adveshta Sarvabhutanam, starting from that in the 12th, Amanittam Adambittam Ahimsa Shantirarjavam in the 13th, Abhayam Sattvasam Shuddhi Jnana Yoga Vyavasthiti in the 16th. If we put all, we made a little research, we found there are more than 73 values. Then suddenly we realize the value of values, all this, suppose you put it and crush. and you take the essence out of it, then we come to know the value of values are nothing but right relationship with the creation. Seeing the commonness, right relationship. So that nobody is less important, nobody is more important. All are equal. And ultimately what we have to reach, the 18th chapter finally says, keep on thinking, keep on doing the manana, many things will, and then read this stress to serenity, and then we will find so many things are tallying, and then pray to him to bless us with that while dealing with men and matters. When Papa was walking, his body was subjected to severest hardships. Severest hardships. This 13th chapter, Kshetra Kshetrajna, the body and the knower of the body, Suddenly we realized Papa was able to understand the theme. That is why, he was positively indifferent to the limitations of the body. Yes.
Accepting all situations of the rulership, he was very clear to God.
Accepting all?
Situations
Ah.
ordered by him,
Mm.
because he was very clear that he is the ruler.
So in the second chapter he keeps on maintaining, not only second, that he is behind everything, he is behind everything. And why is it that we are not in a position to understand? Because of the three gunas. Where from the three gunas came? It came from my previous birth. And these three gunas definitely influence me. Kindly think about it. So many things will come out. It depends upon our intensity. Because now that he made us to prepare well for our inquest of study, inquest of God, which are now condensed in the form of a small book, Stress to Serenity. That small book, values are there, 198 points are there. These 198 points, we will try to bring out points like this in 18 chapters and then tally it together. This manana will definitely help us to empower us in handling matters at the family level, professional level, social level. So there will be a double advantage. So first of all, we have to find out from 37 chapters of IQG, what does each chapter touch and kindle in me? And then that we make a list. Then we take up this 18 chapters. What does each chapter touch and kindle in me? Then we find some similarities somewhere. Wherever we find similarities, we will try to integrate. Otherwise, it will be very, very difficult to go through shloka by shloka, chapter by chapter, In both books, we may not be able to, we may be, we don't know. But it looks as if it will be very difficult. But suppose we adopt this method. Take the book In Quest of God, Stress to Serenity. What does each and every chapter touch and kindle in us? The moment we remember about the first chapter, what does it kindle in us? Write down immediately. Like that, over say in 1 week time, probably we may be able to bring so many things in the In Quest of God. Then we take up chapters. Fairly, everybody has now some idea about 18 chapters. An overall picture, not in depth. We have gone through many slokas. So let us try. So each chapter we will try one or two. List it. We have to write in the notebook. And then find whether there is any connection.
Swamiji, the beginning and the end of both the Bhagavad Gita and Gita same. It starts with permission. Starting and the ending point of both ICT and Bhagavad Gita.
Starting and ending point, both. Same.
Starting and ending point of Bhagavad Gita?
And In Quest of God.
That there is comparison.
And the end is clarity.
Yeah, that is right. The first thing that comes to us is, here there is Vishada Yoga full of delusion, here also full of stress. At the end, he says, Nashto Loba, what is that? He says, I am free from all delusion. Nashto moha smritir labdha tat prasadan mayachyuta stithosmi gata sandeham karishye vajanam tava. I am free from, by your grace, I am free from all my delusions. That means serenity. I am, there is only one and only common denominator, Atma, in everybody. So I follow strictly what you say, Karishye Vajanam Tava. So the end and the beginning is now almost clear. Started with moha, delusion, he gets cleared. Started with stress, he reaches serenity. Correct. This is how we should try. Starting and ending, of course, correct. But like that, we may not be able to connect all in the order in which the 700 slokas are packed. We don't know. We have not gone with that idea at all. But we will find so many points we discussed so far from Bhagavad Gita, it is there in Quest of God. It would be a worthwhile experiment, no doubt, for sadhakas, for devotees, to connect up these two. It's a good project. It will be useful for everybody. When each one tries to do this, ultimately when we pool everything together, it might be useful for everybody. A point which has not struck to us, it would have struck to you. So when we pool everything, everybody gets benefited. So our suggestion is, in the next 10 or 15 days, each one will do this individual sadhana of just like this. 37 chapters you put what is it that touch and kindle, with the help of the small pamphlet, Serenity, Stress to Serenity. And then when that is over, start from first chapter to the 18th chapter, whatever that comes, put it there. Every day when you come, you ask us. We will also try our level best. We don't know. We will be leaving on 20th. So 19th will be our last day of this thing. Another 3, 5, 6 days, that's all. So afterwards, we don't know for the next 1.5 months how will we be in touch. But during this time, if this research is going on, it will definitely be helpful. What do you all feel? Suddenly everybody becomes Dakshinamurti, no?
Do homework, Swami. We will do homework.
We will do homework.
Homework regularly. Regularly.
You want to tell me?
Yes.
I want to express what I have in my mind. If I am right or wrong, if I am wrong, please correct. My understanding is, recognized as knowledge. All the points are taken from normal life of the human. At the same time, there will be solutions for that. How we have to lead our life. But that point, nobody is touching nowadays. So far, there is leaders, purpose, all this, all this. When the God is said conveyed, the meaning is a totally different nowadays. Real meaning for conveyed nowadays. And third point is, like Gita said, all believe that families are Lord Krishna cautions them. You have to be very careful because all the people follow you. If you do something wrong, you will also repeat the same wrong. So that is also another issue. And like that, so many these things are coming to us. Whatever topic is described, there also meanings are totally different. Now we see in the social life, all religious feelings, communal feelings, what not, regional feelings, everything is. Now we will ask, why I am attracted to Anandashram? Only because of our growth in main I told you also. Irrespective of religion, irrespective of caste, irrespective of creed, irrespective of denomination, anybody can go, stay here. This is nowhere practiced except in
Correct. What we are trying to understand is, we are trying to put, the inquest of God and the Bhagavad Gita. As a spiritual aspirant, our motive should be very clear. What is it that we want to achieve? If you look at the world, you get distracted. You have come here to this world. God has given you a life to this world. You have been leading a life. At this particular moment, God has drawn your attention on this fundamental issue, that what is the real purpose of my life. For that we will turn. If we divert our attention in something else, we will never be at the starting point. So we are trying to understand the meaning of our very purpose. God has given us this life. So far we did not know that.
That is my question. Why should we read the Bhagavad Gita at all? Why should we read interest of God at all?
Need not, because we
Small belief is there. Then people will get attracted to it and everything.
No, it is not like that. He prompted us to make an in-depth study of inquest of God. He is now prompting us to take up a study of Bhagavad Gita. Now, yesterday he gave us this point that we should try to connect up this. So all for our own benefit, all for our own refinement. We are not looking at the world. We have got a life to be lived, and we have to refine our this thing. So then, what is it that I will do? So go to Bhagavad Gita, go to the inquest of God, take all these things, and then, if wherever it is possible, if we are in a position to link it together, it might help us in dealing with men and matters outside.
100% we can
So that is what we are trying.
as far as I am concerned, there is no doubt about it.
That we will try, That is the purpose. That is the purpose. If we look at the world, we will not be able to see anything. Then we get non-static. God has got his own plan. Why should we bother? Whatever he allots us, we will do.
You must know that there is no point left is Bhagavad Gita. Everything is attached.
We will go specifically, no? Specifically, one by one. We'll make a trial. That is the ultimate cream. If you condense everything,